So there has been some massive developments in regards to Marcus Rashford joining FC Barcelona, and the same goes for Joan Garcia. It does seem like the two first signings that Barcelona will be making in the coming weeks is going to be Joan Garcia and Marcus Rashford. It is no longer Luis Díaz. Now, here is going to be the latest in regards to Marcus Rashford. Back on January 2025, Rashford was a candidate to join FC Barcelona, but things went on. Apparently, La Liga did not allow for Rashford to join Barcelona for whatever reason, and Joan Laporta just could not do anything. Hansi Flick wanted Rashford 4 to 5 months ago, but it just didn't happen, and Rashford could not come to Barcelona. He wanted to, but he eventually ended up joining Aston Villa. But now, knowing that the window has opened up again in the summer, Rashford continues to want FC Barcelona yet again. On May 2025, the only thing, or the couple of things that we have been hearing, is that contacts have resumed, that Deco and Flick both admire him. There was a meeting between the agent and Deco that was held in FC Barcelona. The Luis Díaz deal was proving to be very difficult, and that is why Rashford was always the top alternative. Maybe the reason why Barcelona are looking at Rashford and no longer at Luis Díaz is because Liverpool is asking for 75, 85, or maybe even 90 million euros for the player, and Barcelona is not going to pay that. Of course, Barcelona were never going to pay more than 75 million euros for Luis Díaz, and so Liverpool is not doing any favors whatsoever, and that is the reason why they're going back to Marcus Rashford. Now, the whole model that they're going to be trying to accomplish with Rashford is a loan model. Barcelona will aim for a loan with an option to buy from Manchester United for 47.6 million. So by the summer of 2026, Barcelona will have to negotiate that amount, and hopefully, if Rashford does well and he gets like 10 goals, 10 assists, or whatever, that price tag can remain, because he is at the prime of his career. He'll be 28 years old by the next summer of 2026, and Rashford's stance is he's crazy to join FC Barcelona. So I'm happy to see that Rashford at the very least wants to join our club. I believe that he is a player where he realizes that if he were to join a team that is under the guidance of Hansi Flick, he can really explode. This is a player who wants to revive his career. Rashford is a player that I would put in the same category of Sané, Gnabry, or maybe even Deco, because these are wingers, right, who constantly like to attack the final third over and over again, who want to provide assists over and over again. A very high pace, high intensity. Marcus Rashford is in that category, and if you were to join a team like FC Barcelona under Hansi, his numbers would explode, just like how Rafinha's numbers did explode compared to the last season in the 2023-2024 season. So a couple of things that I want to talk about in regards to Rashford. Point number one, if we want to see Rashford succeed, for sure he's going to have to sustain a relentless high press work rate every game, because if there's one thing that we have to know about our wingers and how Flick likes to use his sides, especially back in Bayern 2020 and Barcelona of 2025, is that he needs his wingers to have high press regains, and Rashford's numbers in terms of high press regains has dipped in Manchester United, averaging like 0.5 per 90 minutes, and that is well below Barcelona's current wingers. Yamal averages 1.1 and Rafinha averages 0.9. Marcus Rashford is going to have to up those numbers and really try and go out there and regain the ball as fast as possible, right? High press, high intensity, etc. So his work rate is going to have to improve much more. Point number two is going to be the sharpened combination play in tight positional play zones. So for example, if we have the ball and we're outside the box of the opposition, the pass speed has to be extremely fast. It has to be fast. Like, there is no time to waste. The one thing that Hansi Flick wants is to go for the ball and implement those high speed passes. There is no time to waste whatsoever. If you see an open spot or open gap between the defensive line, you want to be able to implement those through balls as fast as possible. So the high technicality is really going to have to come into play if Rashford were to come. Point number three, develop a reliable weak foot finish and first touch. For sure, this has to be something that Rashford has to improve on, because Rafinha is good with both of his feet, hence the reason why he can play on the left and make those crosses with his left foot and also make those crosses with his right foot. He has no weak foot whatsoever, and Rashford is going to have to improve his left, because there is going to be predicaments where you're going to have to cross with your left foot, and I think that Rashford has a decent left foot, but it's going to have to improve even more to really make those crosses 110% accurate. Like, you have to bump yourself up in that way, and you are going to be placed in positions where you're going to have to run behind the defensive line as fast as possible, and sometimes you're going to need to use your left foot, and your first touch has to be amazing in order for you to keep up with the speed of the counterattack that Barcelona is going through. Point number four, commit to strict off-field professionalism and daily add daily intensity into your workouts. So for example, there were so many rumors and reports about the fact that Rashford fell out with the current manager of Manchester United simply because Rashford was like going out there late, partying with his friends or whatever, using his phone during training sessions, etc. It's just allegedly, and there has been reports about that, and that is the reason why Rashford left Manchester United back in January 2025. And so if that is true, all of that has to be out, like for sure. Like if you want to succeed at Barcelona, where there is much more focus and pressure, that has to go out the window. And when you train during the training sessions under Hansi, you're gonna have to put 110% and train as hard as possible and try to implement that type of intensity and whatever you learn onto the pitch and in real games. And that takes a lot of focus. So he's gonna have to reset his habits in terms of nutrition, recovery, punctuality. Look at how Jules Koundé got punished because he came 3 to 4 minutes late to one of the training sessions and he could not play, or he did not start. He even punished Iñaki Peña because Iñaki Peña was like 4 or 5 minutes late from a training session that Hansi, or like a group session, like a conversation meeting that they have to have, and Iñaki Peña came late, and because he was like 4 to 5 minutes late, Hansi Flick said, okay, like you can't, I'm sorry, but like you came late and I'm gonna put in Szczesny, and the rest was history from there. Szczesny just continued to start. And so there is punishment in your professionalism, right? You need to have professionalism off the field and on the field. Lastly, point number 5, he's gonna need to harden his body for Flick's volume, meaning he needs to injury-proof his hamstrings, and he's gonna have to have great load management. One of the things that Rashford has really, I would just say, had trouble with is his hamstrings. His hamstrings just continue to get injured. There has been talks, and there has been, a lot of voices stating that Marcus Rashford is not the most reliable because he gets injured. And the thing is that, like, okay, we also got Dani Olmo, but to Hansi Flick, it does not matter. What matters is, can you manage this player well, and can you get him to a point where he is okay with coming in those last 30 minutes and just play in the best way possible, or play the first 65 minutes? Is he okay with that? Because that is what you call load management, man management, is to give all these players the time that they need to be effective, but not overstay their welcome in a game to the point where they're going to achieve overload. And that is not good, right? So I think that if Marcus Rashford were to come, he's going to have to understand that he will be rotated. Sometimes he's going to be taken out, even though he does not want to be taken out. Maybe he might not be starting in a specific game, but that is only because Hansi Flick wants to take care of Marcus Rashford. And he's saying, like, okay, you're not going to be playing in this match against Real Madrid, like starting, but you're going to come in the last 25 to 30 minutes. But in those 25 to 30 minutes, you're going to be very effective because I have a plan for you. And you can find those 1 to 2 goals that we're going to be asking from you. And yeah, so like he's really gonna have to harden his body, because maybe there is gonna be times as well where maybe Rafinha gets injured, and maybe even Dani Olmo gets injured. Maybe there's like a 2 or 3 month time frame where we're missing a lot of attackers, and Marcus Rashford is gonna have to be ready for those moments and really be ready to come out with a lot of consistency. So there's a lot of things, bro. Like, this is I would say a move that does complement Barcelona's attack. I would really like to see Yamal on the right, Rafinha as the number 10, Rashford on the left, and Lewandowski up top. That is going to be one of the ideas that I believe Hansi will implement. Or you can have Rashford as the number 9, because we have seen him in games where he can play as a number 9. Very similar to Luis Díaz, by the way. I believe that this is the reason why, they have looked at Luis Díaz and Marcus Rashford as the main 2 options, because they're almost like playing the exact same role. So Rashford can play in the number 9 position very well. And I think that if that is a possibility, then let's do it. Rashford as a number 9, give Lewandowski some rest here and there. Yamal on the right, we have Rafinha on the left, and Dani Olmo behind Marcus Rashford. Or you can have Gavi behind Marcus Rashford, or maybe even Frankie de Jong, in case there's like games where maybe we want to give Gavi some minutes, and we have Pedri Gavi at the back with Frankie as the number 10. Frankie has played as a number 10 before, and that is always going to be a possibility. So you can do a lot of things, and I believe that adding Marcus Rashford into our attack would give a lot of players some rest, and we won't see some players experience fatigue or muscle overload, etc. Because there's just so many games that Barcelona have to go through in one season, especially next season. We're gonna have to play a lot of games, more than 60 games, and that is going to be insane. Now, in terms of Joan Garcia, I'm gonna give the latest here. So Joan Garcia's agents are in favor of him coming to FC Barcelona, and they have already spoke about this yesterday. And right now it's a matter of what the goalkeeper decides to do. And Espanyol's message is very clear. They have stated that anyone who wants Joan Garcia must pay the 25 million euro release clause. And this makes the Barcelona option very real. Joan Garcia also spoke about his future, and whether he could close the door on FC Barcelona. And this is what he said: "I'm very calm, really. A lot of things are coming out on a lot of teams. It doesn't just depend on me. At the moment, I'm a Espanyol player, and I don't have a date to decide." Now, here's the thing. Roger Torreo, who was a very reliable reporter and very close to FC Barcelona, he has stated, and this was like 12 to 14 hours ago, but he has stated this: Barcelona have already sent a 5-year contract to Joan Garcia, and there's an agreement in principle with his agents. Between Friday and Monday, the player and his agents will meet to take a final decision. The club which has made the most progress with Joan Garcia's agents is FC Barcelona. If the player gives his okay in the coming days, there's an agreement in principle already in place between Barcelona and his agents, which could be then adjusted as required. And so the fact that Barcelona have already put a 5-year contract offer to Joan Garcia, that means that they're ready. Like, they want Joan Garcia to be in their team, and they're willing to give him a starting position. This is what's most likely going to be for the next season. We are going to be seeing Joan Garcia starting at the back with Szczesny as the backup option to play those Copa del Rey games, maybe Spanish Super Cup games, etc. Maybe some Champions League games, who knows. But Joan Garcia is the one that they want to rely on, which means that most likely Ter Stegen will be the player that could leave in the upcoming weeks. So it's a very exciting time to be a Barcelona fan, because if you're going to tell me that we're going to be loaning Marcus Rashford, which is for free, we're not going to have to pay anything, and then bring in Joan Garcia for 25 million euros, let's just say 30 million euros, 5 million euros extra in variables for whatever. Like, I'm pinning out worst case scenario. You're telling me that we're going to have Marcus Rashford and Joan Garcia for a total of 30 million euros in total? That is great club management. We have not spent really a lot of money so far, and based off what we got, it's a lot. We bring a lot of value to this team, and Hansi Flick is going to be very impressed. And I believe that, you know, we have talked about this in the previous video in terms of like our financials on like, this is going to be like the estimate. It's not going to be the exact amount, but Barcelona, this is estimate. Barcelona will have around 65 to 70 million euros to spend in the summer. Now, if we were to spend a total of 30 million euros off of these two players already, that would mean that we would have around 40 to 45 million euros left to spend in the summer, which means who could we sign with 40 to 45 million euros? Because that is the estimate. Like, that is what the math is being put out for FC Barcelona's current transfer funds for the summer of 2025. And to be honest, that is going to be for a whole other different conversation. Like 40 to 45 million euros. We'll see what Barcelona can do with that money and who we could afford. I believe that if Barcelona want to further their funds and convert that 40 to 45 to go to 60 to 65, they're gonna have to sell some players from their squad, and I don't know who that could be. Maybe Ter Stegen is the one that could improve their finances and go back up to 60 to 65 million euros in transfer funds and buy a new player, since they're going to be having Joan Garcia and Szczesny for another 2 years. So we'll see. I'll talk about that in a separate video, but that is going to be the latest in regards to Marcus Rashford and Joan Garcia. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.